The sun was setting over Joe's auto repair shop, casting a warm golden hue on the tired building. For months, business had been dwindling, and Joe, who had dedicated his entire life to his shop, felt the weight of the struggle. His workbench, once bustling with customers' cars, was now nearly empty. Bills and overdue invoices cluttered his back office, reminders of how close he was to losing everything. Joe sat there staring at the stacks of papers, his heart sinking deeper with every passing moment. He knew he had given his all, but the uncertainty of what came next felt unbearable. "I don't know how much longer I can hold on," he whispered to himself, as a sense of hopelessness washed over him. It was in that moment of despair that a faint knock on the front door interrupted the silence. At first, Joe hesitated, unsure whether he should open up to anyone, especially in his vulnerable state, but something pushed him to stand up and answer. When he opened the door, he found a homeless man, ragged and weary, standing before him. The man's eyes, though tired, were full of hope as he asked for work. His voice trembled slightly, but his sincerity was undeniable. Joe was struck by his desperation, and despite his own struggles made a choice that would change both their lives forever. Joe hesitated for a moment when he opened the door and saw the man standing there. His clothes were tattered and his face was weathered by hardship. The man's eyes were filled with a quiet desperation, and his voice trembled as he spoke. "Sir, I'm looking for work. I can help with anything. Please just give me a chance." Joe's first instinct was to turn him away. His shop was struggling, and he couldn't afford to take on any extra help, let alone pay someone who might not even be able to contribute much. His mind raced through a dozen reasons to say no. He barely had enough business to keep things running. But there was something in the man's eyes that struck a chord with Joe. Something that reminded him of his own struggles when he had just started out, unsure of how he would make it. The weight of those memories made him pause. After a deep sigh, Joe reluctantly made up his mind. "I can't pay much, but I'll give you a job sweeping the floors," he said, his voice softening. It wasn't much, but it was a start, a lifeline in some small way. The man's face lit up with gratitude, and though Joe couldn't have known it then, that simple act of kindness would soon change both of their lives. As the days passed, Joe began to notice something unusual about Sam. The man arrived early every day, his dedication unwavering, and worked with a quiet determination that Joe hadn't expected. Sam's presence, once just a way to fill the empty space in the shop, was now starting to feel like something more. Joe, caught up in his own tasks, didn't think much of it until one afternoon, when the sound of tools clinking caught his attention. He walked into the garage to find Sam kneeling beside a damaged car, his hands moving with remarkable skill and precision, carefully diagnosing and fixing the problem. It was as if he was in his element. Joe watched in awe for a moment before walking over, stunned by what he was seeing. "How do you know how to do this?" he asked, his voice filled with astonishment. Sam paused for a second, looking up with a shy smile that didn't hide the depth of experience behind his eyes. "I used to work as a mechanic before life." "Well, life got in the way," Sam explained, his voice soft but steady. Joe's heart skipped a beat. This man wasn't just a homeless person seeking work. He wasn't someone to just sweep floors. Sam had skills, real, valuable skills that Joe had been desperately needing. In that moment, a surge of hope filled Joe's chest. Sam was more than just a temporary fix for his shop. He was the answer to everything Joe had been praying for. Weeks passed, and the auto shop slowly began to thrive again. Business was picking up thanks to Sam's expert work. Word of his talent spread quickly, and more customers started to trust the shop with their cars. One afternoon, a customer pulled up with a car that looked like it had seen better days. its engine sputtering and its body covered in rust and dents. The man, clearly anxious, stepped out and asked, "Can you fix it?" His tone suggested he was already bracing for bad news. Sam took one look at the car and calmly said, "Give me a day and I'll have it running like new." Joe watched in awe as Sam went to work. It was like watching a master craftsman at work, his hands moving with a confidence that only comes from years of experience. As the hours passed, Joe could hardly believe the transformation. By the time Sam was done, the car was purring like it had just rolled off the lot. The customer, visibly relieved and amazed, handed Joe an envelope with a large sum of cash inside. "For the repair," he said, smiling. But as Joe took the envelope, his thoughts weren't on the money. Instead, he turned to Sam, his heart full of gratitude. "You've saved this shop, Sam," Joe said, his voice thick with emotion. "You're more than just a worker here, you're family." Sam's eyes softened, and for the first time, a full, genuine smile spread across his face. In that moment, Joe realized that sometimes it's not just about saving a business, it's about saving each other. As the months passed, Joe's auto shop flourished, returning to its former success. Business was booming, and the once empty garage was now filled with the hum of engines and the chatter of loyal customers. Sam, who had been homeless just weeks before, was now an invaluable part of the team. His skills as a mechanic were unmatched, and his quiet determination and work ethic had earned him Joe's deep respect. The bond between the two grew stronger each day, and together they turned the shop into a place of not just business, but of hope. One evening, as they closed up for the day, Joe found himself reflecting on how far they had come. Looking at Sam, who was wiping down tools with a content smile, Joe realized how profoundly his life had changed. It wasn't just Sam who had been given a second chance. It was Joe, too. The kindness he had shown Sam had sparked a transformation in both of them, a reminder of the incredible power of human connection, compassion, and trust. Joe walked over to Sam, a deep sense of gratitude in his heart. "We've both come a long way, haven't we?" he said softly. Sam looked up, his eyes shining with the weight of everything he had overcome. "Yeah," he replied with a smile, "and it's only the beginning." In that moment, Joe knew that the true value of kindness was far beyond anything money could measure. It had the power to change lives, create families, and build futures.